So even though our actors are spending every day in this sea of blue, having to use their imaginations of where they're going to be in the film, at least they have been armed with these incredible costumes by our genius costume designer Liz Palmer and her team. The amount of detail and research that has gone into each thread on these costumes is truly incredible.
I had to know where they were, the hierarchy of the gods, and the symbols that they actually carried with them. And there were certain symbols that I actually stayed away from, like the Ankh. So it's just like Hathor, kind of is always sort of seen carrying an Ankh, but we stayed away from that because I kind of felt that happened after the gods, and I tried to keep away from a lot of hieroglyphics as well. So ours were more sort of adornments without the Egyptology.
I think we've had the most fun, to be honest, with some of the gods and the coronations and some of the background stuff. There's been lots of great fun stuff to play with, and we didn't have a lot of time in the beginning, but as time went on and we did fittings, we got more and more adventurous and bigger and bigger, with the whole idea of the gods being larger than the human beings. We started going, well, let's get bigger and bigger with the hair so we can help them get big and bigger shapes and bigger things, and getting to know what the sets and things were going to be, because initially you come on and it's all just, you walk onto the set and there's just, blue steps and blue poles and you go, oh, it's sort of quite different. And once the artwork starts flowing, you sort of realise what's going to be put in later, and you start sort of adding all these shapes and things, and you just hope it'll work.
It's only a question, I'm not saying whether it does or not.
I actually do think you're right. I think if we could just soften it a little bit more, make it take a little bit of
I think it's a good look.
Yeah.
Maybe it just needs a bit of heat, a bit of weight out of it.
Feels a little too soft.
Chunky. If you come in for a close-up, it could be a little thick.
Yeah, I agree. I think the hair looks fabulous though.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah.
Hair and makeup is probably doing 75% of my job for me as an actor. It's been absolutely incredible. I mean, the costumes are phenomenal. The workmanship that's gone into these pieces and the way they've realised them, they're beautifully crafted. Their fabrics, they've actually had their fabrics made. They're not even purchased fabrics, and they're bought from Switzerland and shipped over, and they're just beautifully made. Everything fits fabulously. Because everything's corseted and boned, you have to sit upright. The crown was heavy, so I can only move a particular way. It's about that big, and it's solid brass, and the hair goes up through it, and I mean, the changes are phenomenal. Everyone's wigged, and I think Geoffrey Rush is 5 hours in makeup every morning. I'm about an hour and a half, which is quite quick, really. And it's just a comprehensive vision from your head down to your toes. Costumes weigh kilos.
Most of films that you do, they kind of you ride up this, wave, and then you kind of hit a bit of a plateau and you come down, there's a little bit of a lull, and then you work your way up again. This one has just been a tsunami. We have not stopped making, we're still making. I finish tomorrow, and we are still making.
And it's been great to see the actors working with her on sort of giving their own little personal touches to each of their wardrobes and how they could amplify certain elements of them or give their own special touch. Jerry, for example, he wanted a very specific design on some of his chest plates and that sort of thing that he felt like expressed who Set was the most. I thought that was just kind of cool.
We had him quite highly polished and regal in a strange way. And he brought it down and, dirtied it up and gave it a bit of earth matter.
Although, then we're back into, you stop doing that.
I mean, I had slightly different imagining of how they had with Set. He's a man from the desert. I don't want to look so great. I'd rather be in my armour. My armour is half metal, half leather, and I don't mean a bit of metal and a bit of leather. It is metallized leather. You've never actually seen it before, and it's because they wanted metal and I wanted leather, and it's kind of like it's just everything about. He's another dimension, Set. He just lives in that different place.
When we first did his show and tell, I was worried. We had a lot of designs set out, we had elements and some costume pieces to try on, but it was like he was in a leather costume dress-up shop, and it's just like, can I have that with 3 teeth? Can I have that in red? Does this come in blue?
And also crocodile skin, so the stamping on the figure was like crocodile skin and skeletal and a lot of tooth elements, just all dangerous and like a hunter, because he's a hunter. He's a warrior and a hunter.
In the end, he owned his costume. He brought a lot to it. And he, like Geoffrey, are really involved in that process of design.
Geoffrey, yeah, we initially started looking at him and what we'd do with him, and that sort of grew into like, it's going to have to be a complete bald cap and facial pieces and then the wig and all of that. And as he loves getting into that character and the things, and, the more we added, sort of, it became good. And I think he looks really good because he doesn't look like Geoffrey Rush, so it's great. He looks like Ra, and he's got all these little sunspots and flicks of gold, that was, we thought they'd come from the sun. And then, the hair, we put strands of gold through the white hair too, so that we'd get all, the whole thing, so he glowed sort of like the sun.
It might have been interesting if, I don't know if we've got a double or whether we could arrange it so that I picked the cloth up before I've changed.
I ended up using two terms. We had monk, character, and almighty. But when Geoffrey came, he brought a third dimension to that, and it was really a collaboration between Geoffrey and myself and Alex that gave us the end product for his character. So he, with the monk, he grabbed that, and he saw the textiles and how down and earthy they were. So he said, wouldn't it be nice if all of his adornments, like his armbands and cuffs and his collar, his shoes, his belt, and even his crown, were made of papyrus, leather, grass materials, and just a basic bronze and no gold. Then we decided that the crown, everything when he goes to an almighty character, he grows. His crown, when he puts it on, goes from a very small bronze, old relic of a crown to the beautiful crown that we see him as Super Ra. And his bracelet grows, becomes gold, the collar becomes golden and grows, and then he armours. So he gets a beautiful chest plate and belt, etc. So, and that worked really well, and he was really happy.
Is that a storm? There's no clouds. Sets hunters, riding their pets.
Horus is, he's our golden boy. He's really it's such an important god in ancient mythology and in our film, really, that he had to be this sort of silvery gold colour to him when he transforms from being a man. And Nikolaj's colour scheme, in a way, he has beautiful skin, and I'm sure it was enhanced by Leslie in the makeup department. And Lizzie has him in quite a nice leather, masculine breast coat and skirt, and it all kind of fits together really nicely.
He was tricky. Out of all the characters, he was the hardest hurdle to jump, because he had to first be in a coronation, so he was kind of like done up in regal attire.
He's got his feathers and his long cloak. He looks, and he's all golden and shiny, and he's very pleased with himself there. The idea, of course, is that you see the wealth, you see the privilege, the power. That's what also the costume helps. That's the story the costume helps tell.
And in the initial script, in the tomb, there wasn't a change. He kind of like was dishevelled. Royal attire, which was hard to transition him through the journey of being a year later, does a god get new clothes?
The rest of the story, he wears a very basic outfit, which is kind of like the god's version of going on a long trek.
So to get him looking godlike, for most of the outfit, that the costume is for his hero outfit through the journey, through most of the film, that had to be the key costume for Horus. It had to look tough, it had to look vulnerable, it had to look broken down, it had to go through water, it had to fly, it had to do everything. And in the end, I think we nailed it, because it ended up being like a leather undergarment of that he wore to the coronation. So it was good. We just took the bling off, and it worked.
And 3, 2, 1, lift. 3, 2, 1, shoulders and walk.
It's making a movie. It's magical. I really don't look like this, and I'm like, please do something. 3 hours later, I'm a goddess. So there's a lot of work from the makeup department, the wardrobe department. They did an amazing and incredible job.
With Hathor's character, I wanted to almost create a nude body. Being PG-13, we had to be careful and cover strategic parts of the body. With her, I kind of everything was based on like a bodysuit, a nude bodysuit, and we beaded. in the strategic places, and the cape was her main god-like element. We developed this cape that we had printed in Switzerland, and it's all beautiful tattoos printed on this cape. The underneath part of the cape fabric is actually printed in copper, real copper. And apparently it's the lightest fabric in the world. It weighs 5 grams per square metre. So when you lift it with air, it's just like it's in slow motion. So it's very, very wafty. So Peter Menzies, who's the DOP, he said that it works a treat. So he's very, very happy with the cape. And it did work a treat. We had it specially pleated. And each of the ends of the cape are like a finger. So when it comes to life, it's like she's caressing. The cape caresses and hypnotises.
So that helps, to have something like this.
And Alex likes it, so that's what I'm most proud of, is taking something from conception to on the screen.